wrap up with Coach Hines. So just initial analysis of tonight's game to start us off.
No, really pleased. I think it was quite even in the first half. We had some, half chances. Tried to stop their key players from really having a big influence on the game. I thought the game plan and the players implemented it so well. Some really outstanding performances, but also a really big collective effort from everyone. And yeah, we just showed what we're capable of doing. And it was nice to get some goals and a clean sheet at the end of it.
Awesome.
Said Marta was just in here talking about how hungry she was coming into this game. Seeing that goal that she scored tonight, a vintage kind of Marta goal. How important is it for her playing within this team of being able to contribute in that way and kind of lead with the energy that she's able to bring on the pitch, and especially just getting that goal to kind of kickstart things?
Yeah, I mean, you just said everything that I was going to say. So, no, she's outstanding. She's absolutely brilliant. You can see her hunger and motivation, like what she brings to the team. She wanted to make a difference today, and you could see it in her performance. And there's probably no one better in that position to strike from that sort of distance and let it nestle into the bottom corner. But it wasn't just her goal tonight. It was her hold-up play, her attitude to threatening behind. At times she's on her own, but managed to link other players. And yeah, it was a great performance, and she was just one of many who performed really well tonight.
Matt.
Were you expecting Chewinga to start for them, and was it a surprise that she didn't start for Kansas?
Yeah, I think she's such a key player for them, and obviously we've played against Temwa Chewinga so many times, and what she can bring to that team. And going into the game, we felt our structure and our engagement line was probably better to be a little bit lower to kind of take away the space that she could exploit and not let just one ball beat us. And I thought the back line and, a little adjustment that we made going into this game was just dropping Hayley McCutcheon into the back line and covering those distances and the shifting across, but also trying to be aggressive to still press in the right position. So, between Zara and Hannah, and they've had a pretty stop-start season. I thought they were brilliant back there. Corey Dyke, again, so consistent regardless of where she plays. Kerry Bella is still coming back from injury and starting to see the best of her. Anna comes up with a big save in the first half, and yeah, I mean, I could name all the players midfield were great as well. And again, we wanted to be a threat in the attack with Jackie and Soleil and Marty. So yeah, overall really pleased. I thought they handled the game plan really well and still was a threat in trying to stop a really quality Kansas side.
Zach.
Back here, how nice was it to get Barbara Banda back, even if it was just for a short period of time? Anna was just in here saying how scary it is to have Barbara Banda, a player of that caliber, come off the bench, and I think that was in the other goalie's head when she made that mistake that allowed Barbara to score.
Yeah, I mean, I think she played, 15, 17 minutes and still had 3 shots. So, and I think 2 of her shots were within the first minute of her entering the field. She's such a threat, and, you can never not be aware of her. Even her goal that she scored comes from a long ball from Hayley Mace in behind, and she makes something out of nothing. So yeah, she's a forward. She likes scoring goals, and you could see tonight the hunger to try and get back into it. We missed her last week, but it was nice to have her available for 15 minutes. Likewise with Oyani as well, who we missed last week as well.
Seb, a number of milestones from tonight's game. Obviously, Marta's goal was her 50th across all competitions for the Pride, but Anna getting her 100th appearance for the Pride as well across all comps. Just obviously, we've talked about Marta, but Anna getting the clean sheet in her 100th game. How have you just kind of seen her evolves in her time here? Because she kind of talked about it before, where she wasn't expecting to get 100 appearances with the Pride the way she was starting with her career in 21, 22. But her evolution, just can you talk about that since she's been here and you've seen her?
Yeah, we've always valued her, especially I have as head coach and in my position, and tried to install that hunger into her from the early start of my managerial career. Making sure that no one feels entitled, that they deserve the starting spot, and she's worked hard for it. She's got the #1 shirt, and we've backed her, and it's crazy. 100 games is gone in a blink of an eye, and there's so many times we've had to rely on her for those big saves, and coming for crosses, punches, and it's so fitting that on her 100th game she got a clean sheet against a really good Kansas City side. So super pleased for her and the rest of the team, and hopefully it can continue.
Any special prep for Boston coming up? It's a little bit of short turnaround, but especially with the matchups on that team and who's coming healthy, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the nature of the beast, right? You've got quick turnarounds. Every team's a quality team. It's so difficult to get points in this league. And even tonight, we're thinking about how do we manage players. Some players are still coming back from injury, so you don't want to overexert them in this game, but also we understand we have to win games as well. So yeah, it always has its challenges, but we've got the job done tonight, and then we'll reflect as a staff and make sure that we go out there on Wednesday and put another great performance on and get 3 points.
Awesome.
Seb, obviously with the overall performance of the team, just when you have the defense played the way you, as you kind of talked about earlier, but having yet another kind of backline pairing with Zara getting her first start, Hannah coming in, getting a goal as well, just kind of, could you touch on the adaptability of these players, of being able to step up in these moments, and especially with Zara, who's working her way back into fitness, playing a full 90, and playing the way she did as well. Just touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Zara's been out for the majority of the season, and we know her qualities. We know that what she can bring to this team, and we felt it was the right time to put her in. With young players, you have to find out what they're made of as well, and so she really stepped up into the challenge, played some really good passes, was locked in, and like you said, it was her first night in a long time as well. So really pleased for both of them, both Hannah and Zara, because they've been patient and been waiting for this opportunity since the start of the year. Hannah is such a threat off set pieces. This is her second goal, but every time she managed to find the ball inside the box. So yeah, hopefully she can continue that. She's got great guidance with someone who's been in those positions as well and can read the flight of the ball. And I thought those two were great, and obviously, I'm talking about Corey. She's been brilliant as well. Wherever we've put her in that back line, she's been so consistent. And yeah, even for the players who have to come in, Hayley Mace has to come in and do her job as part of the team. And yeah, you could really see there was a really big collective effort from everyone to get the shot out, and we need more of that. It can't just be a one-off. We have to consistently have those desired behaviours to not concede, and that gives you the platform to go on and win the game.
Kind of talking about players coming back from injury, you've had to manage a lot of minutes so far this year, and still continue to with some players coming back from injury. How much of a challenge has that been? Even coming back from a month off, you're still having to manage some players as they come back from injury. How much has that kind of tested you as a coach, and just trying to figure how much can this player play? How much can this player play? Especially now with games coming very quick and fast.
No, it's incredibly tough, But I think that's why we coach. That's why I'm in this position. And you have to be adaptable. You have to figure out, the best solutions, and get a feeling for who can go out there and perform at their best and get a result. So yeah, tonight was our night. Even within the game strategy of, moving Hayley McCutcheon into a different position, but also understanding, her qualities. And I thought she dealt with, Croy's a great player. She's so influential to Kansas's way of playing. And I thought for the most part, Hayley did a great job of being in that position, pressing and affecting play. So yeah, you always have to find different solutions. You have to look at what you have and and instead some people look at what they don't have, and yeah, you just have to be very adaptable. It's a long season, and everyone needs to feel valued and feel like they have a chance, and that's really important for our success moving forward.
Wrap on that. Like you said. Thanks,
Cheers,
everyone.
guys. Thank you.